More than 50 countries now offer digital nomad visas. Some databases count more than 60 remote work or nomad-style permits worldwide. On paper, that looks like the golden age of location freedom, but something changed. The countries that once tolerated remote workers informally are now asking for higher income, clearer documentation, tax clarity, bank statements, biometric tracking, and prove that your life is administratively real. So, the question is not, can you still become a digital nomad? The better question is, who is still allowed to be one?
For years, digital nomadism worked because it lived in a gray zone. You entered as a tourist, you worked for a foreign company, you spent money locally, and most governments looked away. That arrangement was politically convenient. Nomads filled cafes, co-working spaces, rentals, and off-season apartments. They looked like tourists, spent like residents, and rarely demanded local public services. But once remote workers became visible enough, governments understood the real opportunity, not freedom, revenue. The digital nomad visa was born as a legal product. It converted informal remote work into something governments could price, document, tax, track, and renew. The public story is simple. Countries are opening doors to remote workers. The real mechanism is different. The visa is not a door, it is a filter. Portugal's digital nomad route is commonly described around a threshold of 4 times the local minimum wage, which places it roughly in the €3,680 per month range in 2026. Spain's digital nomad visa also filters by income. The main applicant must generally show income linked to 200% of Spain's minimum wage, with additional requirements for family members. This is the class upgrade nobody says out loud. Countries did not decide they wanted fewer digital nomads. They decided they wanted richer ones. The political pressure did not come from immigration paperwork, it came from housing. In Portugal, the OECD describes housing affordability as a serious structural challenge, with demand pressures making it harder for people to buy or rent homes. In Spain, housing protests have become a national political signal. Barcelona has seen rents double over a decade. Nomads were not the only cause. That would be too simple. But they became a visible symbol: foreign income, local housing stock, and unequal purchasing power. So governments faced a problem. They did not want to lose the money, but they could not ignore the backlash. The solution was elegant: keep the visa, raise the threshold, tighten the paperwork. This is why calling it a crackdown is slightly misleading. A crackdown would mean countries want nomads gone, but Spain, Portugal, Dubai, Thailand, and others do not want remote workers to disappear. They want a more predictable version of them. Higher income and more revenue per applicant, more documentation and clearer tax position, fewer overstays though less informality. The casual nomad is being squeezed out. The compliant high earner stays. That is not a ban. That is market segmentation through immigration law. The border side of this shift is the EU entry-exit system. The European Commission set 12th October 2025 as the start date for its progressive launch. The system became fully operational on 10th April 2026. This matters because one of the oldest nomad strategies was administrative fog. Stamps were manual, calculations were messy, some overstays were missed, some rotations depended on inconsistency. The system attacks all those factors. The 90 to 180-day rule did not suddenly become new. It became easier to enforce. The romantic version of "I'll just move around Europe" now meets a biometric clock. The second gray area was financial. For years, some remote workers treated global income, crypto assets, and cross-border accounts as if complexity itself were protection. That assumption is aging badly. The well-known crypto asset reporting framework, CARF, is being implemented alongside existing automatic exchange systems. In the EU context, DUC 8 and CARF collection obligations begin from January 1, 2026, with first reporting and exchanges following in 2027. The old model was, nobody will know where I really live. The new model is, can you prove your position when systems compare the data? A digital nomad visa is not just a form, it is an evidence file. Spain's remote work visa requires proof of remote work, income, qualifications or professional experience, health insurance, and compliance with the applicable social security framework. Immigration practitioners in Spain have also reported tighter review standards in 2026, especially around fraudulent documents, template files, fake employment contracts, and failure to register with Social Security after approval. Dubai shows the same direction. Reports in January 2026 noted that the UAE remote working visa now requires 6 months of bank statements instead of 3. The new rule is simple. If your paperwork looks like a template, it will be treated like a risk. A digital nomad visa gives immigration permission to stay and work remotely under certain conditions. It does not automatically solve tax residence. It does not automatically remove social security exposure. It does not automatically protect your employer. It does not automatically make your foreign company structure compliant. That is why the new nomad world is not just about getting the visa. It is about building a defensible position. Where are you tax resident? Where is the income sourced? Does your employer know you are abroad? Could your work create corporate presence risk? Are you paying social contributions in the right place? Can you prove it? The visa is the beginning of the file, not the end. Formalization was supposed to make nomadism safer, and in one sense it did. There are now clearer routes, legal stays, official processes, and residency pathways. But formalization also raised the price of entry. The early mythology of digital nomadism was democratic. A laptop, a modest salary, a cheap apartment, and the freedom to live somewhere else. The 2026 version is different. You need stable income and lean bank statements, professional documentation, tax advice and immigration counsel, employer cooperation, sometimes social security analysis, sometimes corporate structuring. That does not destroy digital nomadism. It changes who can afford to do it. Freedom of location has been converted into a premium compliance product. So what should a founder, freelancer, or remote employee actually do? First, separate immigration from tax. A visa may let you stay, but tax residence follows its own rules. Second, check the real income threshold, not a blog post from 2 years ago. Third, prepare evidence before applying. Contracts, invoices, bank statements, tax certificates, social security documents, and proof that your work is genuinely remote. Fourth, do not treat Schengen rotation as a strategy. With the entry-exit system fully operational, overstays are easier to detect. Fifth, if crypto, cross-border accounts, or foreign company structures are involved, assume the data trail is becoming more visible. The new nomad advantage is not improvisation, it is preparation.
For founders and remote professionals, the problem is rarely just which country has a digital nomad visa. The real question is which country fits your income, your company structure, your tax position, your banking setup, your family situation, and your long-term plan. At Icon.Partners, we help founders and international professionals structure these decisions properly, choosing the relevant jurisdiction, coordinating visa and company setup, checking the tax and reporting logic, and turning a risky relocation idea into a compliant operating plan. Not loopholes, not romantic promises, just a clear structure before the move creates problems. Digital nomad visas did not end location freedom, they made it official. And once freedom became official, it became measurable. Once it became measurable, it became taxable. Once it became taxable, it became filtered. That is the real story of digital nomadism in 2026. The world did not close the door. It installed a payment terminal, a biometric scanner, or an income threshold. The golden age of casual remote work abroad is over. The age of compliant mobility has begun.